Well, Justin, thanks so much for sitting down with me, man. I'm
Yeah.
just curious, how long have you been involved with FCA?
Oh man, I've been involved with FCA since my sophomore year of high school. Yeah, so it's been a long time. I mean, FCA has been a part of my life, since then, and my faith has been important to me all my life. And FCA actually, I, along with myself and along with a few other my classmates, helped start up FCA at our high school, and then we got FCA plugged in college where I went, and so it's been huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, is that like the start of your faith, or was that kind of derived before that?
I think that was the start. I would say that was the start of my faith, because prior to that, I grew up in a Christian home. I thought, when I looked up to a bunch of older guys who I thought were really cool, they happened to be believers, and so I thought being a Christian was just something like I had to do. It was the cool thing to do at the time. The guys that I were looking up to, and so that's what I emulated it. But it wasn't until I got to high school where I was really grounded in my faith and actually, took it upon myself to learn, what Jesus did for me on the cross and for so many others, and it was just an amazing experience, which is why FCA started, becoming more prevalent in my life at that time.
How lucky that you had just some guys who were like older and Christian and you kind of looked up to, I feel like.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, it's so easy when you're young, you're just like a sponge, and you just kind of are wherever you're attracted to, like that's almost who, show me your friends and I'll show you your future type of deal. And so I was very fortunate to have looked up to guys that were walking, in the right direction, and it was so easy to follow. Granted, there were times where, my ideals and my relationships were put into the wrong things, but regardless, I had those guys to look up to, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction. And like I said, it wasn't until I got to high school, but at that time, it was an amazing, life-changing experience.
Absolutely. And being a Christian myself, I know that God just kind of works with everybody in different ways, and through athletics, he just seems to be so prevalent. And I'm just curious, how has God kind of helped you throughout your athletic career?
Oh, it's been unbelievable. I mean, I can't imagine, especially looking back on it now, and especially the field that I'm in now, and I can't imagine going a day without having a relationship with God to get you through it, because, 1 minute, one game you're, a fan favorite, the next game you're, just as much as dirt, to them, and, it's so much give and take, and then you're in the NFL, and 1 minute, the GM loves you, the next minute you're traded. If you just find, if you have your trust or your identity in anything other than the Lord, I mean, it's just so hard to find your purpose in life. And I'm so thankful for so many different aspects of my life: FCA, my wife, my family, my friends, that help always keep me grounded in the Lord, because if I didn't have that relationship with my sport especially, I have no idea what I would be doing.
Yeah, and this might be a little too personal of a question, but I'm just curious, if the Lord wasn't a part of your life, where would you be right now?
That'd be a great question. Going back to like my freshman year of high school was like the time I struggled the most. And I obviously, as believers, we know that just because you accept Christ doesn't mean your walk is now, sunshine and flowers and it's so easy, right? But my freshman year of high school was so hard, just because I was wrapped up in my sports, and chasing after every girl that I could. And at that point in time, just starting to get involved with alcohol, exposed to a little bit of drugs. And so, I'm thinking about like, dang, where would I have been if I didn't have my relationship with the Lord? And honestly, and not to be, too dramatic and not to make it sound, like a super depressing story, but a lot of my friends, drug addicts, alcohol addicts, from the same hometown that I'm from, in and out of jail. Some, not that I knew like close friends, but some deceased. And so it's just, you think about the kind of lifestyle that, the Lord has saved me from, and, saved me from myself, actually. And it's just, it's truly inspiring. So, there are a bunch of different places I could have been, but I know this isn't one of them.
Right. And I just admire your play so much, but I also admire how you're using your platform for God. And so being able to come to these kind of events for FCA and being able to preach the gospel, how important is that to you?
Oh, man, it's way more important than anything else. I love football and I love what I do. And, I put maximum effort and beyond that into my sport. But that's not why, I'm here. That's not why I was brought on this earth. I love to do what I do, and I love to compete, and I love to make plays, and, all that great stuff. But in the process, I want little kids to look up to me and have, someone to look up to that kind of goes against the mold of what the world is preaching and what the world is saying. And that's the biggest thing. And so, there's so many other, great guys that, kids look up to who, unfortunately don't do the right things off the field and show, and lead, the way that you're supposed to be leading. And that's the type of stuff that I look at. And it's super inspiring for me to, come to events like this and then come back 2 years later or something and to hear like, the last time you were here, I want you to know that the group of guys you talked to, like one of them got saved. And that's what I want to do, because I want to expose people to what has helped me become where I am. And it's not because I'm a great, athlete, and it's not because, I got, good grades or this, that, or the other. It's because of my relationship with the Lord, and He's helped me reach my max potential in life, and all of us are capable of that. And He wants to use you in whatever field that you want to pursue, and He wants you to pursue. And it's just so much good stuff with your relationship with the Lord, and that's why I love doing it.
So what are you going to be preaching to everybody today?
Man, one of the main things that I love to talk about when, I'm with a new crowd or a new group of people, and, they kind of want to get a feel for, where you're at and how, you developed your relationship with the Lord, is that it's so easy to go up there and to talk from an NFL standpoint of like, oh, everyone's important, right? Because I'm at a point in time where, sports are idolized in America, and so a lot of eyes are on you, whether you like it or not. But one of the things that I love to talk about with the new crowd is that you're just as important as I am, and you have just as much impact as I do, just on another platform. I could never go to your hometown, or I can never reach your group of friends the way that you can reach your group of friends, or the people at your workplace. No matter how big of an NFL name I am, some hold more weight than others, but there are certain people that only you can reach and I could never reach, and vice versa. And so I think if you look at it from that lens, like, God does have an important platform for you. Every single person is special in God's eyes, regardless of what the world says, regardless of what, NFL player says up on stage. Like, you all have an important platform that God wants to utilize you in that workspace to bring people, to His name.
Yeah, I've honestly never looked at it that way. And like, now that you say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're absolutely right. People think, if you're not Billy Graham, or it's like you can't reach to people in like a really godly way. So the fact that you said it's blowing my mind right now. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, of course. I heard someone spoke it into me, and I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely true, And
I love those films. Those are great.
Yeah.
Also, just kind of getting back to like being an NFL player, obviously fame can bring all sorts of different types of temptation and distractions. How have you been able to handle that?
Oh, man, I tell you what, if it wasn't for my community of guys on the team, other believers, doing it by myself, I've learned pretty early on in college, is a absolute failure every single time. And so, trying to, hold my pride on my shoulders and, walk, like I have everything figured out and I can take any blow that, is coming my way, is not the right approach. I need to be vulnerable. I need to be outspoken, with things that I'm struggling with. And I need to do all that with a group of guys that have the same ideals as I do, believers, want to be family men, looking to honor their marriages and, raising their kids the way, raising your kids the way that, is ideal, I guess, like to the rest of the group or whatever the case may be. But the point is that, during the season, it's tough. You go on away trips and, you hear all these crazy stories of, just girls waiting by your hotel rooms or waiting outside your taxis and, looking for you and things like that. And you could get caught up in that so easily. And there's so many other more temptations on top of that. And so having a group of guys that, you can consistently have that conversation with, and you can consistently hold you accountable, like, hey man, this is not a point in the finger type of thing, but I see that you're struggling, let's talk about it. I've been struggling lately, and it's just that genuine conversation is what has held me, accountable, and what has held other guys, like on our teams accountable and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool to hear. And just a couple quick football questions. I won't bug you too much about this, but Joe Flacco, what are your thoughts on him?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I loved Case, last year. I loved Case. I think he's a great competitor. There are a couple situations where I felt we may not have used a lot of his strengths and things like that. But regardless, that's how the NFL works. It's a production league, and so if you don't produce, they're on to the next guy. But with Joe coming in, I'm excited. We obviously haven't had a chance to, go up against each other in practice. I went up against him in a game last year, but his resume speaks for itself. Bunch of playoff wins, a Super Bowl win, MVP. So when you have a guy like that on your team who's been there, who's done it, I think, there's nothing but positive. So regardless of what's happened the past couple of years, in his career, I know he's excited with Denver. Sometimes all he needs is a fresh start to, kind of get it going. So I'm excited.
Speaking of fresh starts, Vic Fangio, big defensive mind. You look forward to working with him?
Oh, man. That was probably the most exciting thing that has happened, this offseason. Just him and his staff and seeing what they've done, at the places that they've been. You look at San Fran when they were there, Chicago, especially last year. Yeah. The safeties that they had, Amos and Jackson, both huge production seasons. And so for myself, coming into, just contract year, also playing safety, having Fangio and his staff come in and just learning under them, even if it is for a year and, I signed somewhere else, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to just get my hands on the defense and learn as much as I can.
Well, we're excited to see you. And then last question, Nuggets are in the playoffs finally. How excited are you guys for that?
I'm actually excited. I grew up a Kobe fan, so I guess I never really had a team. I guess if I had a team, it'd be the Lakers. But I am excited that, the Nuggets are in the playoffs because I can go to a bunch of, Nuggets playoffs games, and I want to see them go all the way and win it if it happens. I think they have a great success rate being the, either the 1 or the 2 seed worked out. I just think being on opposite bracket as Golden State for them is ideal. They have a chance to win first round series and then, move on and go from there. But the thing that I think works for them is they're a great team. There's not one individual that has been carrying them the load of the season. So they're a great team. I think, they have a great coach, and so I'm excited. I really am excited to watch them play and, go to a bunch of playoff games. That'll be dope.